over John Stockton.
John Kemp, who's been shouted along with Peyton throughout this ball game. It has been a huge game for both of them, and he's delivering from the line.
Let's check in with Jim Bell.
All right, thanks, Greg. Jerry Sloan just telling his team that it's our time right now. They want to look to try to run, but no haphazard shots. Also, Jeff Wintersek will sit on the bench for about another minute or so, and then he'll be back in the game. Greg?
All right, Ahmad, thank you.
They got to get the ball to Malone. He had Peyton guarding him. That means somebody's going to be open.
Very poor spacing by Utah that time. They had Benoit and Carr in the same position. Antoine Carr, who's been spectacular for Utah pretty much throughout this series, is not having one.
6:42 to play in regulation. 80-77.
In those last 2 years, Greg, in the Denver series, Robert Pack outplayed Gary Payton down the stretch. Last year, it was Nick Van Exel over Gary Payton down the stretch. So far, Gary Payton has had the upper hand over John Stockton.
John Kemp, who's been shouted along with Peyton throughout this ball game. It has been a huge game for both of them, and he's delivering from the line.
Let's check in with Jim Bell.
All right, thanks, Greg. Jerry Sloan just telling his team that it's our time right now. They want to look to try to run, but no haphazard shots. Also, Jeff Wintersek will sit on the bench for about another minute or so, and then he'll be back in the game. Greg?
All right, Ahmad, thank you.
They got to get the ball to Malone. He had Peyton guarding him. That means somebody's going to be open.
Very poor spacing by Utah that time. They had Benoit and Carr in the same position. Antoine Carr, who's been spectacular for Utah pretty much throughout this series, is not having one of his better days.
5-point lead for the Sonics as we approach 6 minutes to play. Shrimp to Hawkins. Back outside.
3 seconds.
And now Hawkins for 3. Benoit with the ball.
Benoit is a man possessed, and in a short period of time, he has given the Jazz the lift that they're needed. And they're not taking care of the ball and trying to get the ball inside to either Carr or Karl Malone.
The bench just not getting it done. Russell, Carr, Benoit.
Kemp. Tried to muscle it up. Perkins saves to Shrimp. Shot clock at 3. Shrimp long range. Jumper in it.
Douglas Shrimp is having the offensive game that Utah needed from Jeff Hornacek.
Malone. Whistle blows, no basket. Illegal defense call against Seattle.
Douglas Shrimp against the clock will send one skyward. It's the rainmaker right here. He thought he got fouled on the play. He wanted 4, but the crowd erupts again, as well as the bench for the Sonics. Again, they got a little bit of life. John Stockton will come back for an illegal defense technical.
The first 5 games of this series, John Stockton totaled 33 points. That is his 34th point in the last 2 games.
Hornacek back in, and they need him to catch fire. They need to see him come to life. Benoit goes out.
Jazz aren't moving well off of Stockton's penetration off the screen.
That's about as loud as it got in the Delta Center on Thursday night back in Salt Lake City, and that's even louder. Kemp.
The one time he double clutches, he doesn't score.
Well, he got himself too deep underneath the basket. He really should have continued to come out the other side. Thought he was going to be able to draw the foul.
Antoine Carr just tossed his goggles off to the sideline. Malone. Karl Malone, who says he wants the basketball down the stretch in games like this, pulls the Jazz to within 5, 4:20 to play.
Those goggles are critical for Antoine Carr, though. He's got a serious long-term eye injury, fractured cheekbone. take the bright lights in that eye at all.
Kemp kicks it to Shrimp.
Big time movement from Sean Kemp.
And Carr, very upset a foul wasn't called.
First half, Antoine Carr was able to pull those balls in. All Sean Kemp lately.
Payton looking for a way around Stockton.
They never set up anything. This is just a one-on-one effort for Payton. Left hand doesn't get it.
Russell with the rebound.
Very poor sequence there for Seattle.
Hornacek goes to Malone down low. And another illegal defense call.
Utah just get right back into this game on these illegal defenses.
You see Carr without the goggles, but it has been war inside between Carr and Kemp. They're trying to keep him away from the position.
Another on the Hornacek-like miss as Antoine Carr retrieves the goggles.
We talked at the half that Hornacek needed a lot more shots. I thought he needed 20 for the game. He's only taken 9 field goal attempts.
3:20 to play. Malone over Perkins.
Terrific defense by Sam Perkins.
And they're looking for a foul. And it's going to be Seattle basketball.
Hornacek thought that Sam Perkins touched it last, and Hugh Evans couldn't see, so the Sonics get a good bounce.
Coming up on 3 minutes to play. Shrimp. And he was fouled. And Dick Bavetta calls a travel.
Wow.
Shrimp runs over and says,
Yay, yay. All right, we got a new thing. We got a new thing coming. This is the next big thing. I got hoops fever. I got basketball fever, and the only cure is to do some crazy ass greatest of all time list. That's what we're going to do, but first we're going to kick it off with a little something I like to call Westland Wine Cask Whiskey. I killed the Jameson last night. Killed it. Let's pour a little bit of that in my Diet Dr. Pepper. Let's get it on. All right, just getting organized here. Sorry for the late start. Anybody who was counting on that 8:40 time I was talking about. Hey man, the kids got their own schedule. They're not real big on the schedules that we lay out for them. Anyways, cheers to anybody watching the playoffs. Clippers look like they pretty much had that handle. I got $50 on that one, so let's go. We're doing hoops history. This was the game that I think I was the most excited about ever watching in my entire life. I don't think I was ever more hyped for a basketball game than this game that took place on this day in June 1996 in Seattle. So we're going hoops history, baby. I'm just going to kind of, I'm still getting a little bit organized here, so bear with me. Let's see here. I got to get my pro basketball reference at the ready.
Terrific Hall of Fame duo, Malone and John Stockton. The Jazz have never reached the NBA's championship round. They're looking to do it now.
Let's see. Let's get that off to the side here. Window for that.
The question is, does this run stop here tonight, or does it continue into the NBA's championship round?
There we go. All right, this is ready to go. Basketball reference is ready to go. We're going to need to consult that. I just realized we need to have that just ready to go at any moment. We might need to consult that from time to time. We've got to have that ready to go. All right. Let's do a quick poll here. Let's practice. The poll is not that important yet. Right now, it's just a little, just weighing in with the people. We're gonna be so. All right, let's break it down. This is what we're doing, okay? I got my top 100 greatest basketball players of all time. I'm gonna count them down, 100 all the way to 1. Tonight, I'm only going 100 to 81. So the first 20. It's going to be pretty obvious why I picked that number pretty early on in the stream. I'll break down the criteria in a minute here, but I'm going to ask you guys if you guys think I got it right after each guy, because the polls are fun. I think the polls are fun. I'm going to try to incorporate more polls. It's not as obvious this time around as it was during the 90 songs countdown, but it's still pretty fun. So let's just do one. Here we go. I'm going to do a practice one for anybody who's never done it before. What the? Alright, we'll figure this out. Okay. We have a poll up. The poll is up. The poll is asking you if you want to see the end of this game that I'm showing you, this Game 7 of the 1996 Western Conference Finals, or should I just start in with the thing? What do you guys want to do? Cheers, once again. Well, maybe you know what happens, but maybe you want to see what happens. I'm just tagging fools. All right, Paul is about to go unlive here very shortly. Nah, Slickwatt's probably won't make it. Hey, what's up? Yeah, Slickwatt. Okay, yeah. All right, let's see what happens. We got the vote. The votes are in. We have 3 yes and no and 2 not. Okay, so well, it was a little close though. It was 3-2 on the poll. So maybe there's not very much time left. We're gonna see what happens. Maybe there'll be a little fast forward. So that was I always thought that call was a little questionable. You watch the replay, it's definitely a foul, but they could have not called it. They could have not called it. It's a big call. I mean, it's a foul. It's just like you could see them not calling it. It would have been nice if he just made the basket. Just so that, we could have just got the and one. Sean Kemp, who had a great game in Game 7, goes to the line, drops 2 free throws. Sonic's in good shape. Guess who's not going to make the free throws? I'll give you a hint. He also plays power forward, except he plays for the other team. Guess who does not make the free throws? Give you a hint. Top 91 is pretty fucking, that's pretty solid. All right, let's see what are the Jazz going to do? They're down 3. Not very much time left. Who are you going to give it to? Who are you going to give it to? They don't make the right choice here.
I beg to differ. I think they need to go for the 3 right now and make it. They're going to eventually have to make a 3 because Seattle is shooting free throws very shoot that ball.
No, he wasn't. He wanted to draw the defense. He knew that they were going to come to him. Watch the little fake, knowing Karl Malone is going to be rolling that big frame to the basket. There was a chance.
He's top 5 German. Okay.
Should that one go in the traditional way, but there's no chance.
Karl Malone just 6 of 10 from the line tonight.
This is a crowd.
Free throws the entire series.
Decibel level. Doink.
Too much bounce in the legs.
Too much Luckily, Bill Walton's here to tell you exactly what happened there. Too much bounce in the legs.
George Karl walks all the way to center court to say, I want a 20-second timeout.
All right.
And the team huddle is going to take place at midcourt.
The team huddle is taking place in midcourt.
While they huddle, we'll remind you, Wednesday in prime time, 9 p.m. Eastern, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Chicago Bulls host the winner of this one, the Jazz or the Sonics versus the Bulls. The NBA Finals in prime time, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on NBC.
All right. Well, I'm going to just fast forward and let you know what happens here. Karl Malone misses the second of 2 free throws. Doink. The rebound is tipped to Hershey Hawkins, who makes 1 of 2. I think he makes both free throws, and then that's pretty much a wrap on that. So let's just fast forward to celebrations in the locker.
It's a very difficult basketball game, Karl and Gary Payton.
There's GP.
Seattle Sonics are going to the NBA
Yeah.
championship round.
Sonics are going to the finals. Learn about it.
Standing by with a mod.
All right.
All right, thanks, Greg. Carl, a very tough loss here.
I need a little music here.
Nobody even expected him to by even being in this seventh game.
Well, it was a tough loss, and obviously I didn't play that well. But, you know, I got to give them a lot of credit. They play really hard. And, you know,
He's giving us credit. He's very respectful.
So I just want to say to their organization, congratulations and good luck. And we played hard. We just didn't get it done.
All right, we're working out the kinks here. We're only going 100 to 81 here. Might do more later. We don't really know how this is gonna go. So thanks for checking out. Thanks for taking a leap of faith here. But I think this could be a lot of fun.
Jim Gray.
Oh boy.
All right, thank you very much, Greg. I'm now joined by George
What's going
Karl
on
and
here?
Gary Payton. Gary, first let's talk to you. Those 4 big free throws by Sean Kemp. How nervous were you when he was shooting that ball?
Well, we've been shooting free throws terrible. And with Sean
Terrible.
up there, I knew he was going to knock
It was
down.
we were terrible, he says. All right.
They're playing basketball.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, a little taste of some history there. I'm gonna give you guys a little history if I can. It's not gonna be quite so. Well, whatever. You get a sense of what that's all about. All right. So here we go. We got the greatest basketball players of all time. I made a list, yo. It's 100 deep. Of course, I wasn't going to be no 25 or 50. It's 100. It's got to be 100. So, how did I decide the top 100? Well, there's a lot of ways you could do it. I'll just tell you that the 3 biggest factors are the 3 S's. The 3 S's, yo. What are the 3 S's? The 3 S's are, and this is the most important thing. Number 1 S, this is by far the most important thing with these rankings, is skills. Are you good at basketball? Was this person good at basketball? With the emphasis on how good were they at their very best. I'm not as interested in guys that amass stats over the course of a long career. So Caldwell Jones is not going to be on the list. No disrespect to Caldwell Jones, but it's not about guys who had like 20 years in the NBA. Although that is impressive and that is a big factor. So when guys play forever, and just play lots of seasons in the NBA, they're able to not be injured, That's a great job by them. It's a factor. But I'm kind of more interested in how good was the player at their absolute apex. How much did they help a team win? That's pretty much skills. Story is number 2 on the S. So this is, did anything cool happen? Like, okay, so you guys are playing basketball. I mean, like, playing basketball and doing well is great, but regular season games are great. What about the playoffs? What about the finals? What about, did you win a championship? Did you have a parade? Did you knock off your big rival that had been kicking your ass the whole time? Did you go to the Olympics? Did you win in college? Did you put up some, like, a quadruple double, or have some other impressive achievement? That's the story. The story. That's an S number 2. And then the third S is style. Did you look good doing it? Was it fun to watch you play? Did you do it? I mean, what did it look like when you were playing basketball? That's important. So, skill, story, style. Those are the 3 main criteria, and basically everything matters. So, I'm sure that you guys are going to poke holes in these, which is great. I got 100. There may be a re-rack after this is over, so I'm going to ask you guys what you think about the rankings. As I go through each player, rap careers, off the court stuff, that kind of counts for style, I would say. A little bit. All right, so here's what we're gonna do with each guy. First of all, we're gonna watch them play for just a hot second, and then we're gonna do a little pro reference perusing. We're gonna discuss the case to be made for putting them a little higher on the list, the case to be made for putting them down a little bit lower on the list, and then I'm just gonna ask you guys what you think about where I placed them. Should they be higher? Should they be lower? Or did I have it about right? That's the process. That's what we're doing out here. I don't know where Shaq. I don't know what the Shaq Fu factor is for Shaq, honestly. It's not a huge factor. I think it's kind of neutral for me. It's kind of cool that exists. I'll be honest. It's not as bad as the people say. First of all. All right, you guys notice I figured out how to get rid of that green shit on the chat? All right, greatest basketball players of all time. Thanks for checking out the stream. This is going to be fun for me. I love this shit. This is my favorite sport. I love the way they dribble up and down the court. All right, let's go. Let's do number 100. There's going to be a lot of sausage. Did I over sausage it? Probably not. I think I got this under control. Let's see what happens. All right. Here we go. Number 100. Hold on, this is a little bit of sausage. Okay, not bad, not bad. Not bad. All right, we're trying to figure this out. This is a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, but guess what? Number 100 is Joe Dumars. Where's his, hold on. They're not quite done yet. All right, here we go. It is Joe Dumars, and I didn't understand what was happening. Okay, we're going to get there. Refresh that. Number 100 is Joe Dumars. So, this guy was basically a big-time two-way player. he could shoot the ball. First, he could always shoot the ball. He came into the league. He said, you know what? I got some guys on my team that can shoot the ball. It's coming out of McNeese State. He said, you know what? If I'm gonna get on the court and impact this team, I gotta be a great defender. Became a great defender. Got his way into the starting lineup. Made himself a dynamic backcourt duo with Isaiah Thomas. Just super aggressive defense. The whole team was like that, but these guys were super aggressive on defense. Joe Dumars could score. So could Isaiah. They could both pass. And the Pistons became a dominant force. So, let's check out the Pro Reference. Hold up. Let's check out that. Let's just see what Joe Dumars looks like here. All right, Joe Dumars. Pronunciation, Dumars. That's kind of fun. All right, hold up. How does this work? I gotta change the filter. The filter factor. All right, we're gonna get there. This is gonna be super smooth once I figure it out. Also, I'm gonna just fix that a little bit. It looked kind of weird. Okay, so let's see here. What kind of so 6'3" is a little small for a shooting guard. Would be the criticism here. Here's the stats, fam. Can you guys see that? Looks a little. Let's change the filter a little bit so you can see the scoring on the right there. Okay. This looks pretty good. All right, look at this. So here we go. This is Joe Dumars' pro basketball reference page. He 23.5 points per game and finished 10th in MVP voting in 1993. That was after the Pistons. They still had Isaiah. That was Isaiah's last year and Dennis Rodman's last year in Detroit. Defensive player of the year votes up the ass. 5. He was 5th, 4th, and 3rd. He was all defensive team, first team, 3 times. Even in 1993 when he was averaging 23.5 points per game. That's ridiculous. Needless to say, they won the championship 89 and 90. So, anyway, if you look at this, if you kind of say like, all right, he averaged 16.1 points per game on average for his career, but you know, he had some years where he was just kind of the wily veteran, and he had the years where he was trying to break in the starting lineup at the beginning. So that's not really a fair way to. That's not really fair for Joe Dumars if you're just looking at that. Anyways, what's the other stuff? Would be higher if your take is that just anybody who was on those Pistons teams should be higher, because that is like in the discussion for like the all-time greatest team, the 89 Pistons. And I would say that the low, if you're going to say that Joe Dumars should not be this high, you would say, well, if you got a 6'3", 190 shooting guard, then and then maybe your point guard better be pretty good at defense, or else you might have some issues, some size issues, some rebounding issues, perhaps. You know, he just wasn't a big guy. Look at, he had almost no rebounds. He's like weak sauce at rebounds. 2.2 average is pretty bad for any player, let alone a shooting guard. You expect your shooting guard to get a couple boards. So he was a small backcourt, especially with Isaiah. And he has 1 year listed as a point guard. So he had some, he was okay, but he couldn't really be your point guard. So that would be the case against. All right, let's do a vote. What do you guys feel? Joe motherfucking Dumars is number 100 on the list. I'm going to do a vote here. Let's see if we can figure this out real quick here. I just realized something. About here, lower. Okay, we're just gonna do a quick poll. I'm gonna put these polls up a little bit faster. I just had to get the first one set up. So, what do you guys think? I'm not gonna spend quite as much time on each player going forward. I gotta get in the groove here. Yeah, Dennis Rodman had all the rebounds. Maybe that was the case. Maybe it was a tactics thing, except he played 20 years without Dennis Rodman. He got also no rebounds. So, anyway, I came up with 100 for Joe Dumars. I could be easily convinced that he should be higher. You know, I honestly, I don't think I spent quite as much time thinking about those all defensive team nods as a. That's basically just for him being a sticky defender. It wasn't like he had a bunch of steals. He just was very sticky in man-to-man defense. Absolutely. You guys throw everything out there. I want to hear all this stuff. Yeah, and it's hard to say. You guys don't know what's coming up, so this is pretty much impossible to say. Anyway, I'm just putting it up there. Higher, about here. I like it. Good job, guys. Good job, guys, on that. Oh, crap. Hold on. Okay, I gotta figure this out. Luckily, this first song is just massive. I think if I just keep doing, let me just, anyway, whatever. We'll figure it out. Next player, number 99. 74 for Joe Dumars? It's a lot higher. Luckily, this first song was long as F. Okay, we gotta figure out a way to speed it up a little bit. Next. The music's supposed to be higher.
So precious. It's yours.
Why is
It's
this
mine.
music?
Only one at a time.
We'll figure it out.
My life.
All right, number 99 is KJ. We're getting used to it. We're gonna get in the groove here. This is why we're only doing 20 tonight. We might do more later, but all right. Number 99 is Kevin Johnson. All right, so this guy, by the way, was drafted by Cleveland, but he was behind Mark Price. He didn't play much. He kind of didn't really do much. Was traded straight up for Larry Nance, which was obviously a terrible trade for Cleveland. But then again, if you got Mark Price, like, yeah, Larry Nance was quite good for quite some time after that trade. But Kevin Johnson was only a third-year guy, and he just immediately started dominating for Phoenix. And Phoenix got really good, like, right away. They had Tom Chambers and Jeff Hornacek, and they made it, I believe, to the Western Conference Finals, taking Portland to the edge. Anyway, let's take a look at the Pro Basketball Reference. Kevin Johnson, y'all. KJ, franchise junior, 6'1", 180. So check it out. Yeah, he's Cleveland for a year. Maybe not a year. Okay, just a half a year. And then got traded to Phoenix. And then his first full year in Phoenix was voted 8th in MVP voting. 20 points per game, 12.2 assists per game. Did not make the All-Star team. Next year, 22.5 points per game, 11.4 assists per game. These are ridiculous stats. Now, it should be noted that Phoenix did play a pretty hot pace. But look at this. He's shooting 50%. You know, then 51% the following year, 7th in MVP voting, 22.2 points per game, 10 assists. I mean, that's a 4-year stretch where he's one of the greatest point guards ever, with 20 points and 10 assists. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're pushing the pace. That's still some hot numbers. Then injuries started really plaguing him, but he had several more good years statistically. This is battling injuries. 67 games played in 94, 20 points per game, 9.5 assists per game. And then his last year, his last good year, 70 games played in 97, 20 points per game, 9.3 assists per game, and all of a sudden started hitting threes, which he had not done to that point. Shot 44% from beyond the arc. Yeah, that was the team that had Steve Nash and Jason Kidd on it as well. So there was a lot of point guards in the mix. He was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just shoot a little bit. Anyways, we're spending a lot of time on these players. I hope you guys are here for it. We're gonna have to play these songs back a couple times. All right, so yeah. I mean, basically, the case for Kevin Johnson to be higher would be if you're just like, hey, he got screwed by injuries, or else he would have put up some monster numbers forever. As he did, he still had like several huge seasons of putting up monster numbers. And then the case against him would be, how come Phoenix didn't win more? I mean, they had some nice runs. They made it to the finals. They made it to the Western Conference Finals another year. But if KJ was really that dude, then how come they didn't do a little more damage? That would be the case. Anyway, let's try doing this poll. How do you guys feel about KJ? Now it's not just him. It's not just him versus Dumars. It's him versus everybody that ever existed. So, do you guys think this is the number 99 player, or should he maybe be higher? Should he maybe be lower? He's a little diminutive, but he was pretty tough. I guess another case against him would be that he's just a little bit annoying, like when he talks. Kind of a dipshit politician. I don't know. I honestly have no idea about that. I don't really know much about his off-court antics other than he seems to rub people the wrong way. That's what it seems like. But he was awesome on NBA Live 95. Just gets in the lane at will and just finishes or dishes. I don't know, man. I think he was pretty sick. He was pretty sick. I don't know. Lower. Everybody says lower. 4 people voting is all. What is this here? So how? Oh, I got it. Oh, come on. Now, this voting thing is going to be a bit of a debacle. We're going to figure it out. I might just forget about the voting. You guys just let me know. I thought that the voting was going to be easier to do, so I'm just going to forget about the voting. You guys let me know in the chat. Sorry. The voting ain't going as well as I hoped. I thought it'd be super easy. Moving on. Sounds like you guys think KJ should be... Maybe it's just because you like Joe Dumars. There it is. Sexual... That's what it is. I knew there was something. Anyways, next. How does this work, by the way? Okay, look at it. Things are starting to move now. All right, next. Number 98. Okay, I just killed the music. That's fine. I have a plan here. Number 98. We got big Nate Thurmond representing the Golden State Warriors in this picture. Let's take a look at this guy's pro reference. All right. We got a couple. Feels a bit low. That's fine. All right, Nate Thurmond, let's take a look. Let's get into it. We got a couple cries for low already. Here we go. The chairman of the boards. Let's look at this. All right, so why is he the chairman of the boards? Well, how's 21.3 and then 22 rebounds per game in back-to-back seasons? How does that suit you? Yeah, so you can see, I mean, his first year was whatever. He's always getting boards. And then kind of just hung around. 74 Warriors were really good. They had Rick Barry. He's still getting MVP votes, even averaging 13 points per game. And basically, my dad's take was that Nate Thurmond had long arms and he used them. I asked my dad about some of these old-timer guys. And he was 6'11". You could just tell from the highlight. He was just wingspan. And he was feisty. 225, but he was sturdy. Had some offensive game, but here's the reason. Okay, so the reason he gets knocked for me, efficiency. I mean, look at he's scoring, but look at the field goal percentage. You know, like that's not very good. I mean, and the field goal percentages were a little bit down in this era compared to like where they are now. So like those, like he was average for a center with those field goal percentage, maybe a little bit low average. But he's putting up good points per game and he's hitting the glass like a monster. And the blocks only come in at 74. You could imagine he had more than 3 blocks per game would probably be the case before that, when they weren't recording blocks. So the case for him would be if you value, big guys that mix it up in the paint and hold it down and make it hard for other guys to score. They said, my dad said that this was one of the better guys at defending Kareem because he had the length and the athleticism and the willingness to mix it up. He was very physical. So, yeah, I don't know. I might have underrated this guy. I'm just looking at the field goal percentages. I'm thinking, also the other thing is that the rebounds, there was a lot of rebounds to be had because field goal percentages were down overall. Getting 20 boards per game is still, that's amazing. But that wasn't he didn't even lead the league in those years. So that should give you an idea that there was plenty of guys that were grabbing rebounds. So anyway, all right, I'm not doing the polls. The polls are disaster. So the poll is up. You guys let me know. Higher, lower, about right. Just put it in the chat. I want feedback here. What's your vote? It's too hard to set it up each time, so we got to get through all these guys. Nate Thurmond, what's the take? High for show. All right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how we do with the rest of these. Okay, 40, 49. Yeah, I'm willing to change my mind. But let's just look at the rest of these guys and see what the F. All right, here comes number 97. I'm gonna make sure they get some dope intro music each time. Who's this guy? That's Walt Bellamy, of course. We got an old school center here at number 97. All right, this is Walt Bellamy. Has anybody here not heard of Walt Bellamy? It's fair if you haven't. This is going back. This is going back a little bit before Nate Thurmond. Here he is. He's known as Bells or Mr. Bellamy. That should let you know right there. Look at this guy. This guy is this guy was not somebody you wanted to F with. So once again, we got an old school center. All right, so not as many rebounds as your boy Nate Thurmond, but peep the scoring and the field goal percentage. And peep the first year, he was the #1 overall pick for the Chicago Packers. And the Chicago Packers were probably thinking, hey, we made the right call, because this guy went for 31, 19, and led the NBA in field goal percentage. And then he had another monster year when they changed their name to the Chicago Zephyrs. And then was still extremely good when the Chicago Zephyrs moved to Baltimore and became the Bullets. And then, for whatever reason, they traded him to New York, and he was still pretty good. Still putting up monster, field goal percentage numbers, but tapering off a little. And then his legacy is kind of down a little bit because they had Willis Reed at power forward and Walt Bellamy, and they traded Walt Bellamy for Dave DeBusschere, who was a power forward, and it allowed Willis Reed to go to center. It was probably just a case of just needing to get the Willis Reed in the right position. But it doesn't look good that all of a sudden New York started dominating as soon as they got rid of Walt Bellamy. So there's that. But even despite that, he hung around into his 30s, and he was still very effective. Even had a nice little 18 and 12.8, getting an MVP vote apparently, and shooting 54.5% from the field for the Atlanta Hawks there in 1972 at age 32. So that's pretty nice. That's a pretty cool story, a little redemption. That was a pretty good team, that Atlanta team. And it seemed like he was a pretty big factor of that. This guy was very talented. He was 6'11", very thick, well built. 225 is not like a lot of pounds, but he was sturdy, and he had a quick first step. He had bleeping ability, and he had a little shot. He had a little shot too, a little jumper. So I think he's a little bit nicer overall than Nate Thurmond, but Nate Thurmond was probably better defensively. That's probably where the Nate Thurmond love comes into play. And that is probably why. So what do you guys feel about Walt? The voting thing, I'm just abandoning that. I might bring it back at some point. But the smallest head of any 7-foot. Some hateration from Bill Simmons for Walt Bellamy. It's hard to say because he put up massive stats, but it was for an ass team, the Chicago Packers. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that Packers team. How bad were they? Like, does it matter that they were bad? Yeah, they were 18 and 62. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to put up big numbers when your team sucks. I mean, if you look at these names, you're gonna have a hard time. Even I, who's a little bit of of an expert at like this era of basketball, I do not recognize these names at all. So maybe he was their only option, but he still led the league in field goal percentage. So it's not like, it's not like, he's doing a good job. Like, it's not, it's not like he's just the only option, and that's the reason he's getting all the points. He still had to, like, I don't know. I think Walt Bellamy deserves to be on the list, but it seems like there's a little hateration. Anyway, I need your guys' opinions about lower, higher, about the same. Moving on. It's time for number 96. Let's finally play this music. Hopefully this didn't give it away. this guy has the longest highlight package that I made.
She scratches a letter into a wall, made of stone. Maybe someday another child won't feel as alone as she does. It's been 2 years and counting since they put her in this place. She's been diagnosed by some stupid fuck. It might be a reason. Why go home? Why go home? Why go home? She seems to be stronger, but what they want her to be is weak.
This is my second favorite player of all time, Sean Kemp. Listen, man, I wasn't going to do a list that doesn't include Sean Kemp, so that's probably the biggest reason why we went to 100. But, yeah, Sean Kemp is number 96. Hopefully this should let you know that there is not a lot of bias involved with this list because, you know, he's only 96. I mean, he carried the 96 Sonics to the finals where he was dominant, but we got beat. By the way, it was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. It was a pretty good team. They had won 72 games. Sean Kemp might have been the best player in the series at the time. Just saying. But here's where it gets to be a little tough to put Sean Kemp any higher than this. When we bust out the old Pro Basketball Reference. So listen, I mean, anybody who was there, especially if you were in Seattle, you were pretty convinced that Sean Kemp was one of the best players in the league, if not all time. But let's look at the Pro Basketball Reference. He only had one season where he averaged over 20 points per game, and it was with Cleveland in 1999, the lockout year. You know, he got a ton of rebounds for you know, for that time, and I mean, the stats are fine, but like, I don't know, it's hard to really make the case just looking at this. Like, I feel like if the video goes away, people are not going to evaluate Sean Kemp as an all-timer. And they're going to look at the fact that he had his last 3 seasons, including the 2 Portland seasons, are pretty shaky pizza. And, you know, he had some issues. He had some personal issues. Let's be honest, I mean, he got fat. He had other issues. He had a lot of personal things going on. But, shit, girl. When this dude was on, he was the biggest. I mean, besides Jordan, he was possibly the biggest superstar in the league. He was the most exciting player that a kid could ever dream was on his favorite team. Nobody had better highlights than, I mean, there was a few people. Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan, but that's about it. Sean Kemp he's probably like a top 5 to 10 all-time highlight player. And when he was, I mean, actually it wasn't even, he was pretty consistent. Like before, like, you know, before the Cleveland era, you know, he was pretty consistent. He was an efficient player. Like, he was definitely trying to like go for the highlight reel jam, and he probably made like a couple dumb turnovers from time to time, but he freaking like was an efficient player who could operate from the post. He could shoot the jumper. He played great defense, and you know, like, there wasn't like, he wasn't a liability at all. The only thing he was just kind of fell off. That's all. Like when he was with Seattle, it was a dream. The stats I don't think reflect his impact, in my opinion. Maybe the Sonics were like maybe they were so good on defense that they didn't have that many stats, or maybe they just were pretty balanced, so they spread it around. But Sean Kemp was nobody. It was very rare that another team clearly had a better player than Sean Kemp. So I don't know. That being said, I can't be too much of a homer, and I have to recognize that there is some Shakey's Pizza here, and I have to look at the Pro Basketball Reference page and say there's guys that just seem like they did more. So it might, I don't know. I'm trying to be honest about it. Anyways, last take. What do you guys feel? Yeah, he never went to college. He tried to go to Kentucky, but they didn't let him play for some reason. Rex Chapman said that was the biggest bullshit of all time. That Sean Kemp got in trouble there. So, anyway, yeah, and then he sired many children. The Cleveland year were pretty decent. They weren't a very good team back then. The other thing about Sean Kemp is that, man, the Sonics really screwed him over as far as not giving him a big contract, or maybe he had already started to kind of like show that he was a little bit of a off the court issue or something. But I don't know. I feel like he's maintained pretty well. He kind of came back like, he sells a lot of weed in the city. He apparently drew a gun on somebody a few years back, but I don't know. It feels like he's had a pretty good life considering all the things that happened to him, or all the things that it seemed like was going on with him. Like, it seems like he's kind of hung in there, really. Yeah, that was what I was referencing. I don't remember the details of that situation. All right, we got to keep it rolling. I would really like to talk about Sean Kemp some more, but yeah, Simmons does a great job in the book of explaining how the Jim McIlvaine signing is basically the worst signing ever, because not only did they pay a bunch of money for a guy who sucked major balls, but it led to Sean Kemp's career disintegrating. So, yeah, bad job by Seattle. The worst signing of all time, Jim McIlvaine. Pretty easy to make the case that it's the worst signing of all time. Sonics should have dominated the late 90s. That's in the book as well. I didn't read the book, by the way, before doing this. I wanted to come in with a fresh perspective, my own perspective, not the Simmons perspective. But I read the Sean Kemp just now, and it's like, yeah, maybe Seattle screwed up so bad. Vin Baker, people do forget, though, that Vin Baker did have a couple pretty good years for Seattle. Anyways, let's get into number 95. Let's go. Yeah, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. Hey, honey. Yeah. I'm doing.
Just like the flu, watch out. Homeboy, don't let it catch.
It's not a boring stream. It's there's a little interlude for each thing. We got Mitch Richmond coming up, fam. This guy too high, says Tick. Number 95, Mitch Richmond, baby. This might just be because Darren was so damn good with him on NBA Live 95, but honestly, I think Mitch Richmond was nice as hell. Let's see here. I honestly love this player. Like, let's take a look at the Pro Basketball Reference here. Mitch Richmond. 6'5", 215. So he's a prototype shooting guard size. And he was a prototype shooting guard. He just was shooting drives. Look at these stats, fam. I would have loved to put Sean Kemp ahead of this guy, but just look at the stats. That is staggering. 22 points per game as a rookie, and then look at those points per game numbers. I mean, just reeling off season after season. A scoring machine. Assists. Look at the field goal percentages. Like, 3-point percentage. Filthy. This guy was nasty from beyond the arc. Definitely one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. At the time, maybe in the Steph Curry era, you might not think that those 3-point shooting numbers are that impressive, but yeah, he was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, especially considering how a lot of these are like off the dribble, like because Sacramento sucked, and he was, they just didn't have a lot of options. Basically, the case against Mitch Richmond is that you can't give credit. You can't rate a guy who basically did nothing as far as playoffs at all. Like, he just spent his whole year playing in Sacramento for the most part, and they were horrible like the whole time. But I'm telling y'all, it was not his fault. He did not have any good players around him. And then he actually did. He had probably the saddest championship of all time. Like, when it's like, oh, that guy won. He actually did win a championship. Yes, for the 2002 Lakers, averaging 4.1 points per game. Yeah, he was a real impact player for that team. I mean, Jordan wanted this guy. He got there before Jordan did, but I mean, he was about as close as a facsimile for Michael Jordan as there ever was. This guy's game was basically Jordan's game. Like, just a beefy yet quick shooting guard who could drive and operate from the block, with the added wrinkle that he shot a lot of threes and made a lot of threes. Probably, obviously wasn't as good as Jordan. Obviously wasn't as good as Jordan. But, I mean, he's second team All-NBA. There's a guy ahead of him on the list. I'll just spoil it. Reggie Miller is ahead of this guy, as every single person just about would have him. But hey, guess what? He was NBA All-Second Team, ahead of Reggie Miller. At the time, I think a lot of people would have said that Mitch Richmond was better than Reggie Miller. He definitely had a more complete game, I think you could say. So anyway, moving on. Mitch Richmond, y'all. If you don't know, you better know. You better get to know. Sounds like people are not super 100% convinced that Mitch Richmond is that guy. But yeah, by the way, the case for Mitch Richmond is if you ever played Darren in NBA Live 95, he would just absolutely dominate me on NBA Live 95. He might have been the best player on that game. Oops. Let's see here. What am I doing here? I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to get rid of something here, but I'm blanking. I might have just had too much whiskey. Let's go. All right, I got to get rid of this stuff. Okay, moving on. Well, this one's got a little bit of an intro. I don't know why I picked this song, but I think you guys will be here for it. Hey man, I really appreciate you guys checking out the this stream here. It's this is just fun for me. This is really fun for me. So if it's fun for you guys, that is very delightful. Coming in at number 94. All right, yo. Coming in at number 94, it's Mark Price. So, I drove a Chevy Cavalier for many years, and me and Dan actually drove it all the way across the country, and I named it Mark Price because it was a Cavalier. This is a guy this guy I feel like is, in my opinion, quite possibly the most underrated. He's in the discussion for me. Whenever people say underrated all-time players, this is one of the first names that comes to mind. Oh, we got this is the explicit version of this song. All right, so I'm just gonna talk over this part. Oh, screwed up. All right, so this is Mark Price's Basketball Reference. By the way, when we're doing these rankings, we're factoring in their entire career. So college is a factor too. It should be mentioned Mark Price had a pretty nice career at Georgia Tech. I kind of been forgetting to talk about that stuff. But, you know, I really value the college. You know, the NBA is obviously the pinnacle. It's the easiest thing to talk about. But if you did some dirt in college, I'm gonna rate you. He kind of brought Georgia Tech to the next level. And then there was a lot of questions about Mark Price being a 6 foot, 170 pound, probably the most unassuming looking player, or one of the most unassuming looking players in the NBA. And well, he figured it out pretty fast. He was mostly a scorer coming in, but he became an excellent distributor. And look at this, by the time he got to 91, he was going for 10 assists per game. This guy has a signature move, as it turns out. He was kind of known for making the split the double team. So when you split the screen defender. The screen. So he would call for a screen, and then the guy would come over, the screener would screen the guy, and then the guy that was covering him, and then the guy, if he was too slow to get in position, he would go in between. He would split. He would just split it. So now he's left two guys in the dust, and he's just wide open for like a 15-footer, which he was automatic. Or he would drive to the lane, get a layup, or he would dish. He could do it all. On top of it, this guy's in the discussion for, like, seriously, he's one of the best shooters ever. He participated in the three-point contest a lot, and he was very impressive. Check out the free throw shooting. 904 for his career. That's right. He's 904 for his career, and he had 2 seasons, 947, 952, 947, 948. That's in that 3-year stretch. That is never that. Nobody's ever gonna beat that. That's ridiculous. That's insane. And by the way, he was MVP. He was top 10 MVP voting all 3 of those years. So he was a first-team All-NBA in '93. The case for Mark Price is basically, if you look at 92, 93, those were those were the best years for the Cavs, and those were also the best years for the Bulls. And guess what? They got bounced by the Bulls both of those years. So could Mark Price have led the Cavs to the championship both of those years? They kind of hung tough with the Bulls. Those Cavs teams were awesome. They had Larry Nance, they had Craig Elo, Gerald Wilkins, Brad Daugherty was amazing. Hot Rod Williams. They eventually drafted Terrell Brandon, and then he moved on. He went to Washington to play with his brother Brent Price. played 7 whole games. Basically, that was injury bug was always a concern for this little guy. And yeah, the Orlando years. Don't forget about that. Danny Ferry factor. Easy to forget that. But yeah, this guy was nice. One of the most automatic shooters ever. And also, by the way, just because he was a little guy doesn't mean he wasn't pretty feisty on defense. Like, look at that. He had that one year where he went 2.6 steals per game. Man, he was on one. Before he got hurt in 91, he was like actually pretty freaking athletic. The early Cavs years, you know, he's quick. He gets in the lane. He absorbs contact and finishes. Like he wasn't given much up. But obviously he just wasn't built for the long haul. And that is the reason that he's not talked about as an all-time. That is probably the main reason. That'd be the case. So what do you guys think? What's the weigh-in on Mark Price? Higher, lower, about right? What do you guys think? I got him here at 94. I think as a point guard, he was one of the all-time maestros. And then the shot was just pure. If you're playing video games in that time, you didn't wait around to set the pick and roll up. You just popped it, and he drained it. This guy was going for 30 plus every night in every video game at that time. All right. So even Darren said, I thought Darren would be here telling me about how dope Mark Price was, but even he says close to 100. Chris says slightly higher. Yeah. Well, I'm not. I feel like the long career thing is not as crucial. All right. Anyway, let's see if we can get through this a little bit quicker. I know everybody would like to get to bed on a school night. Let's keep it going. What's next? Speaking of signature moves, watch me twirl like Earl to Pearl. He's just like Mark Price was the split screener. I mean, this guy might have one of the top 10 signature moves in basketball history. The spin, Earl Monroe. Let's take a look at the basketball reference. Yeah, basketball, Jesus. All right, so yeah, Black Jesus or just Jesus. If you're Jesus Shuttleworth's dad, why can't he just be Jesus? The Lord's. Some of these nicknames I'm not familiar with. The Lord's Prayer, Thomas Edison, the Magic Man. All right, 6'3", 185. That was okay shooting guard size for back then. He played deep into the 70s, actually, so he was actually a little bit undersized. Yeah, look at the early years here for the Baltimore Bullets. Comes in hot as a 23-year-old rookie. Now, of course, before that, he was a... Oh, thanks. So before that, he was a playground legend from the streets of Philadelphia. Comes in hot with the 24.3 points per game. Then he goes 25.8 points per game, first team All-NBA. And then somehow ends up getting dealt to the Knicks. I'm trying to remember who he got dealt for. But ended up being just saying like, you know what? I don't need to score all these points. I can just get in where I fit in. Because guess what? This Knicks team is pretty damn good. They won the championship in '73. That's always like the. They always say like, oh yeah, we had we had Clyde Frazier, we had Willis Reed, we had Dave DeBusschere. Oh, and we had Earl Monroe. It was like, damn, that team had a lot of good players. And then when Walt Frazier kind of wasn't the man anymore, Earl was like, hey, how about I go back to that thing where I just scored a lot? Yeah, it probably does, but I'm gonna try to get to the story here. And then he dropped a couple more 20 points per game seasons. At age 32, he made the All-Star team, going 19.9, shooting 51.7 from the floor, 4.8 assists. Filthy. Cool factor off the charts. Swag coming out of his ear holes. I mean, I guess the case against Earl Monroe would be he didn't have like the Mitch Richmond thing where he just went for 20 per like over and over and over again. And then the case for him would be like, hey, he would have had that if he didn't have to get in where he fit in, with the New York Knicks being stacked in the early 70s. So anyway, I don't know. I just don't know what his overall skill was. It felt like he's just kind of had this sort of this sort of off-speed pitch factor going, where he just kind of, it doesn't really seem like he was really blowing people away with athleticism in the highlights. So I had a little trouble ranking him just based on that. But he kind of killed it, and he's got that sort of that street legend factor, which I want to reveal right away. I don't have any of the exclusive street legend players on the list, so it's a factor, but it wasn't a factor enough to bump up any of those guys over any of these long-time NBA guys, which all of these players are, except one. Anyway, so it sounds like you guys are real low on Earl Monroe. All right. Or like you think that I have him too low. Okay. Cool. That's cool. Andre Iguodala. I love it. All right, dude. I'm here for the extra shit. Let's get into number 92, shall we? Wait, let me get rid of this first, so that this guy has his shine. All right, this one you guys might not be too familiar with.
Yeah, look 'em all.
There's a lot of good players.
Yeah, now mother.
Okay, you guys might not be too familiar with this one, but here we go.
Oh yeah.
Who's this guy? Who the hell? It's Paul Arizin, of course. It wasn't Dick Barnett. I like the Dick Barnett guess though. It's Poppin' Paul. Number 92 on the list. Who was Paul Arizin? Well, let's take a look at the Basketball Reference, shall we? This guy's definitely got to be in. All right, 56. All right. There you go. All right, here he is, Paul Arizin. So he's a 6'4", 190-pound, for that time, small forward. So that gives you an idea. On that whole, like, if you go back to like the 50s, 60s, like early 60s, late 50s, everybody's about 2 inches shorter. So 6'4", 190 was good enough to play small forward. Take a look at the stats. We're going way back with this guy. Also, by the way, missed a couple years due to military service, which I always feel like needs to be pointed out when we're talking about these all-time greats. This was 2 years of military service after dropping a filthy 25.4 points per game. Nice one, Kevin. Yeah, the team only went for 86.5. This is the shot clock. They were just figuring out the shot clock when this was going down. Poppin' Paul was doing some big work. And then he comes back, and guess what? He was still good. Philadelphia Warriors. He made the All-Star team every single year that he played. So, basically, style of play, decently athletic for the time. Look at that, 6'4". Look at all the rebounds he's getting. Tons of rebounds. 11.3 rebounds in 1952. This guy was super athletic. And he was one of the great marksmen from downtown before downtown was a thing. They were like, oh shit, he's gonna shoot it from there? Wow, I didn't realize that people could do that. So he was an innovator for sure. And that is a big factor for why he made the list. But Simmons says 50. I mean, you know, I honestly didn't realize 89.2 or 86.5 points is all his team averaged that year. Like, this guy was a force. You could make a pretty easy case that he should be higher. But, I mean, it's the 50s, fam. So what are you going to do with these guys? All right, what do you guys think? I think you gotta give props to the forebears, but at the same time, I could see why a 6'4" small forward might not fire you up very much. So what do you guys think? Higher or lower for Paul Arizin? You know, obviously this is like he's doing most of this work when every team had like a black guy. But I mean, he led the league in scoring twice. Look at the MVP votes. And the innovation factor, I mean, and you could tell that, you know, from the highlights that he wasn't just like a set shot guy. You know, he could do some work. My dad says this guy was very tough. Like that my dad was kind of saying like this guy was a big time factor. But obviously you got to kind of come up with your own criterion for these 50s guys. All right, appreciate the input, guys. Let's move on. Paul Arizin. I didn't put Neil Johnston on here. That guy seemed to like he was pretty dominant as well. I didn't have Richie Guerin on here. Jack Twyman. I don't know if he's not really from that era. He's more 60s. Just some guys that were really, really, really good. That didn't make my list. Tommy Heinsohn didn't make my list. That one I think is the most controversial of all those. Yeah, gotta give him props. Just there's a lot of good players. So let's move on to the next one. Go on to number 91.
I keep it player while some choose to play it safe. But check the resume, it's risky business in the AA. And I've been witness to this history ever since the 10th grade. We went from rock and brace to 10th phase. I twist my A-head to the side just for style. Or throw on the Gucci bucket with the fly, super fly. Wow, the Southern private known to shut it down. It ain't so country though, nigga, this ain't no Goma pile. I'm Sergeant Slaughter. I keep my shit cooked to altar in order to satisfy my people in Georgia and cross the water. And across the border, the essays are getting smarter. They got flour for tortillas and lettuce for enchiladas. If you follow, wink, wink, no doubt we don't speak in the
Tiny Archibald coming in at number 91. Picture off center. I would fix it if it was easy, but it ain't easy. So apologies for the off center. Also apologies for having a random Portland dude just getting effed in that picture for all the Portland heads out there. This is Tiny Archibald, number 91. I honestly didn't expect him to be this low. I always thought he was one of the greats, but then I did a deep dive and it just didn't. It wasn't. He didn't end up as high as I thought he would, but 91. He's ahead of Pop and Paul at least. All right, let's check out the stats. Let's take a look at the stats. Some of these stats are crazy. Not a lot of Kansas City Kings. I think he's the only Kansas City King on the list. Shout out to the Kansas City Kings, though. All right, Tiny Archibald. Oh, that's the same picture. That's the same picture. Look. Look at that. That's crazy. Same picture. The head is the same as that picture that I picked there. That's weird. Okay, so he's the stats. Before we get into the stats, I just want to warn you, the stats are pretty good. Here we go. So he's so he had 34 points per game for the 73 Kansas City Kings, and he also had 11.4 assists per game. Both those numbers led the league. He is the only player that's ever done that. And then he kept it rolling. What's up with the 74 season? I only played 35 games. He got hurt. Came back, continued to dominate, continued to be top 10 MVP voting. Then he got hurt again after one New York Knicks season that was pretty damn good. And then he got scooped up by Boston, and he had, Larry Bird came around in 1979-80, and all of a sudden he found himself as the point guard for some very, very good teams, where he got more MVP votes. So I guess the case against Tiny is that the Kansas City Kings sucked. So, they just gave him the ball. He had pretty good field goal percentage. I kind of got the sense that he was a pretty good shooter, but there wasn't a lot of information. Like, it seemed like he mostly just blew by guys by being fast. Ooh, that's the next guy. The next guy has that music. And then, also the other case against him is that, well, what's up with the Boston stats? They're nothing special. And obviously they had like Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and Cornbread Maxwell, but I don't know. He's only going for like 11 points per game, 14 points per game. Whatever. I don't know. Like the case for him is the same as the case against him. It's like the stats in his later years are meh versus the stats in his early years are amazing, but the team sucked. But then when he was with Boston, it was a good team. So it's like the same thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this too low or too high? This is Tiny Archibald family. He's, one of the all-time great little guys. Just, he was basically like, he passed the torch to Isaiah Thomas as just like the scatter point guard that could just blow by people with speed and dish it out and just run the show. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. He's a pretty good player. I like these other guys more though, so we'll see. Let's go on to number 90. This is a shout out for Dan on this next one, but it really does fit the guy. Number 90, it's Big Bob Lanier. Just, 70s into the 80s, held it down. Big time center, went to St. Bonaventure, which is in a very small town in Western New York that I've been to. Kind of a little bit stunning that there's a big time university there. Somewhat of a legend in the Western New York area. And then just went to the NBA and just held it down for an extended period of time. Let's take a look at the Pro Basketball Reference to see a little bit more about his career. Dauber, Moses, Baba Daub. These are some dope nicknames that I'm not aware of. Yeah, he's from Buffalo, New York. Which is a place that I used to live. And just basically just came in the league at age 22 and just started having some. I mean, look at these stats, fam. Look at these stats, fam. Second year in the league. 25.7 points per game. 14 rebounds per game. By the way, the assists are not nothing. That's a pretty good amount of assists for a center. 3 assists per game. Then he goes to 4 assists per game as he's third in MVP voting in 1974. I mean, the gap between him and Kareem or Lou Alcindor was not very high, or was not very much, statistically. I mean, the dime, and then the field goal percentage is nice. Like these early 70s, guys that shot over 50% were few and far between. There was a lot of bricks. The pace was decent. And, I mean, he's amazing. Look at the blocks. What did he average for blocks in 72, 73? Who knows? But probably it was similar to 3 blocks per game. And then, after just sort of toiling away for a bunch of crappy Detroit teams, he gets scooped up by the Bucks at age 31, and he always had a little bit. This guy was not very big on doing 82 games. First 4 years, awesome. 76, then just kind of having a hard time staying on the court. But the Milwaukee teams that he played for in the early 80s were top notch, and this is the perfect dude to have as a center when you got other guys that can do stuff, because he could rebound, play defense, pass. Like Lanier just fit into that team like a glove. I'm sure that he was like a major acquisition for them, turning from a whatever team to an awesome team. We could take a little time to look through, but we're kind of trying to make sure we get all the way to number 81. But I think if you look at this Pro Basketball Reference page, you're thinking like, this guy has to be at least top 90. So the case, I guess, against him would be that what happened with those Pistons teams? How come they just weren't very good? And then the case for him would be if you value stompability, because this guy had unusually large feet. So for the Stomper fans out there, this guy probably would be a lot higher for you. Bob Lanier. A little more Herbie Hancock. This is a long jam of a song here. Let's go on to number 89, shall we?
Mississippi, surrounded by 4 walls that ain't so pretty. His parents give him love and affection to keep him strong, moving in the right direction, living just enough for the city. His father works some days for 14 hours, and you can bet
the man that led the Sonics to the championship Had to throw that in there, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with this ranking at all. But the OG Sonic, Lenny Wilkens, number 89. By the way, I totally messed up. I was gonna do a list that was gonna let you guys figure out that maybe Lenny Wilkens was gonna come up. I had a list going. I'm just gonna give it to you. I never made it. It never happened. So I'm just gonna do it right now because it's tied into what's going on right now. These are my top 5 Sonics that are not in the top 100. Number 5, Fred Brown. Downtown Freddie Brown. One of the first long-range bombers of all time. Was nailing three-pointers before there was a three-point line. Number 4, Detlef Schrempf. One of the great Germans of all time. Mr. Inside Outside. One of the most versatile players of all time. Great passer, great team player. Sweet shot. Integral part of the 96 Sonics. Number 3, Big Jack Sigma. The Sigma move, where he would just square up, and just for some reason people had no idea he was about to pop a little J over them. Or he could crash the glass, get major offensive boards. Or he could pass out. You know, he could pass out of the double team. He was a sick passer. Big part of the 79 championship team. Number 2, Gus Williams, rest in peace. Just passed. Lightning quick point guard. Best player on the 1979 team, arguably. They had a lot of really good players. Went for 20 points per game multiple times after that. Held out an entire season in his prime, which is a bummer, but was really, really good. Really quick. Shot a high percentage. Had great assists. Great defensive player. Gus Williams was a borderline top 100 inclusion. And then number 1 that did not make the top 100, that would be Spencer Haywood, who had an absolutely ridiculous ABA career as a teenager. Started, I think he was aged 19 or 20 his first year in the ABA, and then he came over and was teamed up with Lenny Wilkens to just provide respectability for the very fledgling Supersonics team, and just grabbed hella boards and just scored hella points. Spencer Haywood was a monster, and Spencer plus Lenny Wilkens, who was a major veteran at the time, was a pretty good team with a bunch of randos, pretty much. But before that, Lenny Wilkens had already had a really good career for the St. Louis Hawks. Let's take a look at his Pro Basketball Reference page, shall we? Anyway, that's my top 5 Sonics that didn't make it. So I was going to give you that list earlier, and then you were going to be like, oh, I guess that means that Lenny Wilkens might be coming up here. Well, here's his career. Played for St. Louis until age 30. Very steady, kind of just some good years, some decent years as far as scoring and assists. I guess they had pretty good teams back then, so he didn't necessarily always get big minutes. And then when he was called on to be more of a factor at age 30, he was second in MVP voting. That's crazy, going for 20 points per game, 8 assists per game. This guy was a total maestro. One of the smartest players. Defensively, no stats. He was awesome. He was very feisty. And then look at this, he's just doing work for the Sonics. The Sonics were not good. 22 points per game and 8 assists per game. Just being a leader. And then, just when you think he's done here, Cleveland says, hey, we need a point guard. So age 35, Lenny Wilkens goes over there and goes for 20 points per game with 8 assists per game at age 35? Are you kidding me? For a good Cleveland team? And then he finishes out his career with Portland, which, by the way, for some reason on YouTube, there's tons of his clips with Portland, where he still looked like he had plenty of game, but why are those clips there when, he obviously was way better earlier in his career. So, Lenny Wilkens, one of the just total stud point guards. Not exactly like an amazing like outside shooter, but just very heady and just a maestro. Just a great maestro and sticky on defense. And needless to say, I try. It didn't factor in. It really didn't. I can safely say that it did not factor in. But Lenny Wilkins is one of the all-time greats. He, coaching the Sonics to the championship in his second year as a head coach. Or actually, no, he didn't. He actually was the player coach for. Oh, I don't know. I have to look it up. But he's awesome. So, and based on that top 5, Green Magic should reveal the answer to that for you. Okay, moving on. Gosh, let's see if we can get through this. I want to get all the way to 81. I think the night is still young. I'll try to pick it up just a little bit. All right, who's next? Oh, this guy's kind of fun.
Shit off me. He ain't gon' never sell, he gon' fail shit off me. I gotta shake this weak shit off me and keep shit off me and leave it in the streets like bitch, get off me. 1977, July 5th, conceived immaculately was me, my mom's gift. Unwrapped right there in the room like Christmas. My mind has been designed to do like distance. Run whole laps around y'all with my thoughts. You ain't hold back on yours, nah, that's my fault. Now picture me falling all the way to the bottom and I'm laying and calling. Somebody come help me. Find my strength to stop drinking this poison before I try my gift. And yeah, it's probably unhealthy, cause I went so hard and woke up sober. I lost my good friend and broke up
so for some reason I just skipped a bunch of dudes. I'm not really sure what happened, but this is number 86. We're working out the kinks. By the time we get in the top 50, I think we're gonna have a well-oiled machine. At least that's the hope. Anyway, here's number 86. Ben Wallace. Just skipping a few dudes. We'll get to those other guys in a second here. This guy was, if you don't know about Ben Mother Truckin' Wallace, he's in the conversation for the best defensive player ever, I think. Strong, athletic as F, close to a 0 on offense though. Give him the ball, that was not the strat. But he figured out a way to contribute. Here's his pro reference. 6'9", 240. I mean, this guy was so freaking strong. He might be the strongest player ever. I mean, probably Wilt Chamberlain would be stronger than him, but let's look at his stupid ass pro reference. It took him a while to for people to realize, oh, we don't actually need to worry about the fact that he doesn't do much on offense. He does everything on defense. 2 years led the league in rebounds. 3.5 blocks is kind of a lot for a player in that era when he led the league in 2002. He was top 10 MVP for 3 years as a defensive specialist. He was defensive player of the year 4 times. All defense 5 times. And then obviously, when you talk about story, he's the leader, he's the representative here for that Pistons team, which has got to be one of the all-time great stories. Oh yeah. And then, everybody kind of talks about, oh man, that Pistons team, they never scored any points. Well, they didn't need to score that many points because Ben Wallace kept the other team from scoring points. Not to mention Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace. Those guys were awesome as well. But I just really like those Pistons teams. That's one of my all-time favorite teams, I think. Just the starting 5 of Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. Just a perfect, complement each other 5. And the Wallace boys, were just... When Rasheed Wallace was engaged, he was awesome on defense too. And it was like... there just was nothing inside. I mean, Ben Wallace is one of the few... Like, when they beat the Lakers... When they beat the Lakers in the finals, like, Ben Wallace is basically just defending Shaq. Like, there wasn't really... He was maybe like the one guy that you could just kind of put on Shaq and just be like, we might actually kind of just hold it down. Like, he's going to score a little bit, but like, that's fine. We'll just put him one-on-one versus Shaq. See how it goes. So, I don't know, man. I love Ben Wallace. He got mad boards. He was a freaking menace. And then the other thing was just the hard fouls. Like, he would just beat the living shit out of you. That's what caused that whole Malice in the Palace. Was just Ben Wallace just unnecessarily just beating the shit out of some dudes. I mean, if you look back to the Malice, if you watch, and by the way, that's one of the all-time great, like, let's watch the video of this and let's see how it all happened. It was like 98% Ben Wallace just being a fucking asshole to the Pacers, to the point where the other team just could not handle it. I mean, he was mean. He was a jerk. He really was. And he just inflicted pain. Kind of guy you love to have on your team. All right, let's see. Let's go back here. What happened? Where are we at here? I'm a little lost. Oh, I got it. Who is it? Does anybody know who it is? I mean, there's a chance that maybe you guys don't recognize this person. This is the number 88 basketball player of all time, fam. Jerry Lucas, fam. Good guess, DeBuscher. No. This guy is an interesting player. All right, let's see here. Let's go right into it here. I want to kind of get through this. Let's get this guy. Let's get his basketball page up there. So, first thing about him, very storied college career. That impacts his rating a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily moved him ahead of anybody, but he made it to the finals twice for Ohio State. He was ridiculously good. So he's a 6'8", 230. I don't know. Oh yeah, Tick's been a hoops head, fam. He doesn't look like he's 230 in them clips, but yeah, 230. He's pretty thick. Mr. Memory, Dr. Memory, the computer. What's up with that? Yeah, this guy had apparently one of the greatest memories of all time. All his teammates said that if he wanted to just go around the country, you know, doing memory tricks, people would have paid to see it. But he was more interested in playing basketball. And he was basically Cash Money Millionaires with a shot. Like, he had those nice little touch shots. But where Jerry Lucas really stands out, this dude hit the glass. Peep those rebounding numbers. Yes, that's right. 20 rebounds per game. 21.1 rebounds per game. 19 rebounds per game. 19 rebounds per game again. Yeah, he was a rebound enthusiast. One of the all-time great rebounders. This is, by the way, at 6'8". So basically, why was he so good? This dude was just really smart. And he said that with his memory, he knew exactly like he would recognize the plays as they were happening, and he knew what the other team was going to try to do and where they were going to pass it to. And he was physical enough that he kind of went toe to toe. Like there's a lot of highlights of him just hanging in there with like the likes of Wilt and Kareem and whatnot. He just was tough. And then he famously went to the Knicks and helped them win the 73 title. Although 72 was when he was still at peak Jerry Lucas. But then they won in 73. But everybody says that he was a key factor for that team. Like that's a very famous team, you know, with Earl Monroe and Walt Frazier and Dave DeBusschere. Dave DeBusschere didn't make my list, and seemed like he could have very easily made the list. But I think that people got a little rose-colored glasses because of all the famousness of that Knicks team, the late 60s, early 70s Knicks team. Seemed like they were just sort of insanely famous. And I think there's just a lot of East Coast and New York bias. So I kind of didn't rank these guys as high, but whatever. I don't know. There is some truth to it because those teams were nice and they moved the ball a lot and they played a good team defense, and there's a reason that they're as beloved as they are. It's not just because they were in New York, but this guy's field goal percentage is pretty filthy for the time. Now, he probably had a lot of putbacks, but still, like, these are really nice field goal percentages. Also, he sat out his rookie year for contractual issues. What's up with that? Yeah, I don't know. Shout out to Bill Simmons. Obviously, his rankings are probably really good. But this is just my take. I got Jerry Lucas here at number 88. Mr. Memory. That just seems hilarious to me that he had an amazing,
no longer enough.
Amazing memory. Okay, where the hell are we here? I think I lost a track here. So that's what happened. I had a song for this next guy, but I guess I lost it. What is it? Hold on a sec. Who is it? I'm just gonna pick one randomly. We're gonna give this guy a legit intro. Okay, I got something for this guy. Yeah, no, this is what I wanted. Okay, we're good. This next one's gonna be so smooth. Thanks for hanging out for the first of what could be several countdown streams. Yeah, that was the song I wanted for him the whole time. Kind of on the Run DMC, you know what I'm saying? All right, number 87, Tim Hardaway. This guy was a dog, fam. This guy was a dog. He also was a dick. Maybe not super high on the likability scale, but damn it, the style factor is very high with this. It was fun to watch this guy play. That crossover, oh my gosh, that's like one of the all-time moves ever that any player has ever had. And he would just get in the lane, he'd figure out a way to finish it, even though he's a little guy. And he was also a really good shooter. He wasn't a great shooter when he came in the league, but by the time he got to Miami, I mean, he did plenty of good shooting with the Warriors. But then when he was with Miami, like when he wasn't so quick, he could pretty much drain it. So, just a very quality player and feisty as hell on defense. Fit right in with what Pat Riley was trying to do with that Heat team in the late 90s. I mean, it basically was Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, and a bunch of role players for the most part. Like guys like P.J. Brown, who was actually really good. But they were just feisty. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did that one where you just threw it up backwards. That was crazy. Tim Hardaway, fam. Tim Buck. The UTEP two-step, baby. That was his signature move. The crossover is all it was. But he just did it in a way that was just a little bit different from everybody else. And it was way more effective than anybody else. So, yeah. Run TMC. He comes in with Chris Mullin, and Mitch Richmond, and, yeah. That was a nasty trio. One of the most memorable teams of all time, despite not really ever doing anything. Check out the steals numbers in the early days. And, pretty good field goal percentage for a little guy. Kind of fell off, but the Miami numbers are a little skewed because they just didn't really have that many good offensive players, I'm telling you. NBA first team is his first full year in Miami. He was first team All NBA. That's pretty dope for the story factor, going to a new team and then just sort of becoming the man for them, just sort of rewriting their whole identity with Alonzo Mourning and Pat Riley and PJ Brown and Dan Marley was with that team, who was no joke either. I don't know, man. This guy just had nice stats, and I'm telling you, like, the 94 missed the whole season. That's one of the great what-ifs of all time. They had Chris Webber. If they could have had Hardaway and Mullen and Webber. And look, he was like at the apex of his powers at that time. Who knows, man? Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it rolling. Sorry about this. Let's do a couple more. Maybe we'll save the rest. We don't have to make it all the way to 81. Whoa. Okay, just hang out. We're going to do one more. This is pretty late. I feel you guys. We're going to do one more. And then we're going to save the rest. It's going to be a little smoother the rest of the way. So, well, whatever. Who cares? Who cares if we don't have, or if there's multiple streams of this. All right. Thanks for being here for the first one, though. All right, number 85. This is going to be the last one, guys. Who is it going to be? What's the music I chose for this artist or for this? It's the one that you guys are going to be here for. Let's see here.
Yo, what's up, pimp? Stop fucking with me. I done told you niggas 9 on me. Stop fucking with me. You niggas must got 9 lives. Knife wonder. Put that knife in you. Take a little bit of life from you. Am I frightening you? Shall I continue? I put the gun to you. I let it sing you a song. I let it hum to you. The other one sing along.
This is the second longest highlight so far. I love this player.
Usual musical, I conduct it. You looking at the black Warren Buffett, so all critics conduct sick. I don't care if you see Dolores Tuckett or you Bill O'Reilly, you only rally me up. For 3 years, they had me peeing out of a cup. Now they about to free me up. What you think I'm gonna be? What? Rehabilitated, man, I still feel hatred. I'm young, black, and rich, so they wanna strip me naked. But you never had me like Christina Aguilera, but catch me down the west side driving like Halle Berry or the FDR in the seat of my car, screaming out the sunroof, death to y'all. You can't kill me. I live forever through these bars. I put the wolves on you. I put a price on your head. The whole hood will want you. Starting to look like bread. I send them boys at you. I ain't talking about fast, nigga. Them body snatching. Nigga, you heard what I said. I make them late for you to 5 in the morning. Put your smarts on the side of your garment. Nigga, stop fucking with me.
Alright, it's Ray Allen.
Just right, nigga.
I got him at number 85. I don't know, man. This is obviously one of my favorite players ever because he was awesome for the Supersonics. Hit probably the greatest shot in basketball history to tie it up for the Heat. And yeah, when he retired, he was the all-time three-point shooter. In the discussion for the best shooter ever, obviously it's Steph Curry is the best shooter ever. Ray Allen might be number 2. He was that good. So let's take a look. I love the Ray Allen love. I love that you guys are here for the Ray Allen. Let's take a look at the stats. Ray, Sugar Ray, Jesus Shuttlesworth, Skinny Walt. Don't remember that one. Gentleman. Some of these are more prominent than others. I was never a huge fan of his nicknames, honestly. So yeah, he came in with the Bucks. By the way, he was pretty nice for UConn. I haven't really spent as much time with the college stuff as I was hoping to. Kind of talk about their college careers more because I'm a big college basketball. I think is really important. But came in, tried to find his way with the Bucks. Eventually found it. Was really good for them for quite some time. Third team All-NBA 2001. By the way, 2001 the year that the Bucks got totally screwed in the Eastern Conference Finals versus Philadelphia. Yeah, they could have very easily been in the finals. They could have won that championship that year. They were that good. And Ray Allen was that good as their best player. Then for some weird ass reason got traded straight up for Gary Payton. Actually, we had to put Desmond Mason in that deal also. Which I wasn't thrilled about, but I did know how good Ray Allen was. And he wasted absolutely zero time assimilating for that Sonics team. And man, I just remember 2004, 2005. Or was it 03, 04? What was the good year for the Sonics? I'm pretty sure. Well, it was 04, 05. My friend Nick showed me an article, and it said it had all the prediction of like how good it was, like the power ranks before the season started, and Sonics were like third to last. And I was like, we were just like, what? Dude, they're gonna be good, man. Are you kidding me? And they were so good. That team was. I mean, they were not that far away from like championship caliber in 2005. And Ray Allen was by far the go-to guy. He had the playoffs where he got the big bucket in the Kings series, the opening series. And in the game, that was the game I went to. The playoff game I went to was the one where it was like tied late, and they gave it to Ray. He just like beat somebody off the dribble, threw it up, lay in. Almost no time left. Sonics win. One of the most exciting games I've ever seen in person. That was when, gosh, it was so loud. And then just had more awesome years for Seattle. Then we blew up the roster, and he went to the Celtics with KG and Paul Pierce. The next thing you know, he's only averaging 17.4 points per game. So that drop off from 26.4 to 17.4, that should tell you a lot about the history of the league as far as if you're on a good team, you don't need to score as much, so the stats can be a little skewed. They maybe don't reflect your overall value as a player because they had other guys that needed to eat as well. So Ray Allen was basically the third best guy all of a sudden. Went from the unquestionable demand for Seattle to the third best guy for Boston, and they won a championship immediately, which I was all in on that team. You know, we were on the precipice of just being not existing anymore. And then Boston was amazing. Ray Allen was amazing for them. and then kind of just stuck the knife in their back by going to Miami. It was still very good at age 37. So good that he ended up making the most famous shot possibly in the history of basketball. The most clutch shot possibly ever. The greatest play ever. I mean, he was still really, really good. And also, by the way, he was still like dunking at age 37. Like, dude was an absolute maniac as far as like keeping his fitness level up and just getting like his practice routine. He's like basically like a legendary practice player. And you know, even at age 38, he's still doing some stuff. Getting big minutes for this absolutely stacked Miami team. Hey, if you guys want to say that he deserves to be higher, I'm here for it. I just feel like there might have been some other two guards with a little bit more complete game that are a little bit higher than him. It wasn't like he couldn't, like I said, he was plenty athletic. He just wasn't like a super physical guy. And he mostly just operated on the perimeter. Which, by the way, that's what you're supposed to do when you're that good at shooting. Yeah, I mean, you can, gosh, now that I'm reliving the whole thing, honestly, he should be higher. This is kind of, I don't know. I guess it was just the demeanor. I guess I like Reggie's demeanor better. His just overall, just sort of, I just like the overall Reggie vibe. Honestly, I don't know, man. Now I'm starting to get a little mad that I got Reggie ahead of Ray Allen. But, yeah. He does lose points for being an awful announcer. But yeah, anyway, that's where I got Ray Allen. I thought that maybe I'm just trying to prove that I don't want to give it up. All right, so we got. Oh, I kind of get a little hint there, but yeah, you won't be able to figure out that. All right, so that is the end of this stream. I think we gotta just the fact that it's almost 11 o'clock. We gotta just say, hey, we made it through a whole 16 guys. Which is pretty good, I guess. The next one, hopefully, we'll do a little bit more. I don't know. What do you guys think about the pace so far? I appreciate you guys weighing in. I'll have to retailor the next stream a little bit. Start at 84. That's a good number to start at, sure. Cool. Lots of, obviously, doing Ray Allen at 85 feels really dirty. Doesn't it? I'm telling you, though, the rest of these guys are... I think there's just been more... I think my big takeaway from making this list is there's been more great players than I realized. So, yeah. I'm looking at the guys coming up. They're very good. They're very good. Where will DT rank David Thompson? Good question. 84 guys to go. This was the first 16. Not bad. What stands out from this list? You guys think? Well, who should be who is the most misranked guy from this list, in your humble opinion? Now, obviously, you haven't seen 84 through, but you can kind of get a sense of it. I guess. I don't know. I kind of like it so far. I guess I kind of feel that the one that's the easiest to make the case for bumping up higher, I think, is Paul Arizin. Now that you look at it, like the comparison, like he was scoring a lot of points. The Kevin stat really stood out for me. The Kevin Cabarello stat. The fact that he averaged like 25 points per game for a team that averaged like 86 points per game. That's doing some serious scoring as a 6'4", 190-pound small forward. Hell yeah, dude. Run TMC is so nasty. I love watching Mitch Richmond play. I think I honestly think that if Mitch Richmond played for a good team, he would have been good enough to like lead somebody to the promised land. He was that good, man. He was a go-to guy. Tim Hardaway, I think, besides Sean Kemp, is one of those guys that is most elevated by style points. He's just the crossover is so sick. It's like a top 10 all-time move. So I mean, there's a lot of guys with top 10 moves here. Mark Price splitting the screen, nasty. Jerry Lucas shooting a rainbow from like 20 feet, well before anybody even conceived a three-point line. Just putting up a high-arcing Drano. Sean Kemp down on the block spin move. Kevin Johnson with the he had that move where he'd dribble in the lane and then he'd kind of, I don't know, it was in a bunch of video games. I don't even know what the move is, but he would basically do like a stop-start method to get by somebody, and then he'd either pull up for the J or just take it to the chin with surprising ups. Earl Monroe with the spin, that's got to be like a top 10 move of all time. And then Tiny Archibald didn't really, I mean, his move was just, he just dribbled right past your ass. Joe Dumars had a pretty deep bag. Yeah. Ray Allen, number 85. I really hope that you guys are feeling the next 84 because I don't want to be the guy who rates Ray Allen too low. That would suck. Ray Allen was awesome. This concludes tonight's broadcast. Thanks for being here for my next big thing. We'll let you guys know when the next one is. I think, yeah, I don't know. Probably just enjoy the weekend, though. Catch you around the way next week. Maybe we'll get into some Tad this week. I don't know. That's it for now, though. Good night. Good luck the rest of the way.
Too much. When the hot spot, look at what you got.